Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today's show will be all about the birds. We're going to be talking about chirping microwave frequencies. Yes, microwave frequencies sound like a chirping bird or a tweeting bird. I'm also going to show you guys my Birdhouse feeder that I made. Let me get you guys up to speed on what's going on and why we're talking about birds and tweets and the sound of microwaves. Elon Musk just changed Twitter's logo to the X, which we discovered is the TAW, T-A-W, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is also an X. And now we can safely say that this is all connected to the word tweet. TAW is connected to the word tweet. So let's just start calling it Tawheat. Tawheater. Now, we also discovered that the X is likely going to be the mark of the beast. X stands for the end of everything in the Hebrew alphabet. The beginning is the Aleph. That's the first letter, and the last letter is the Tav, or the Taw. The end of everything. And we also discovered that the final mark will have some kind of microwave component to it. The networks. Now, it's already happening. We know that tweets from Twitter ride on the microwaves in real time, which is the 5G technology. But there's even a more direct connection, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys today, because microwaves are actually audible. They sound like little tweets or chirps. And I couldn't believe this when I found this, because it sounded impossible. But it's actually a thing. They call it the fray effect. And they say that it's not a real sound. They say it's actually your brain starting to boil. Literally, brain cells starting to boil. Now, this should go a long way in warning people about the dangers of microwave technology, millimeter waves, because this is a known thing called the fray effect. Now, we're going to read about the fray effect. We're also going to read a master's thesis and them talking about the sound and describing the sound as a chirp. So what is the fray effect? Well, it's a perceived sound that one person gets when bombarded with microwaves. And it even says here that it is literally the sound of your brain starting to heat up. Let's read some of this Wikipedia article here, and then we'll get into the master's thesis, break it down even further, and you guys will see for yourself that not all is what it seems in the world, is it? The microwave auditory effect, also known as the microwave hearing effect or the fray effect, consists of the human perception of audible clicks, buzzing, hissing, or knocking induced by pulsed or modulated radio frequencies. The perceived sounds are generated directly inside the human head without the need of any receiving electronic device. The effect was first reported by persons working in the vicinity of radar transponders during World War II. And then this neuroscientist named Frey started studying the phenomenon. He was one of the first to publish microwave auditory effect, MAE. Now, many of you have probably heard of this already, but we're going to tie this into Twitter. And that's why this is important. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see this, because I'm having a hard time seeing it. So, in his experiments, the subjects were discovered to be able to hear appropriately pulsed microwave radiation from a distance of a few inches to hundreds of feet from the transmitter. In Frey's tests, a repetition rate of 50 hertz was used with pulse width between 10 and 70 microseconds. The perceived loudness was found to be linked to the peak power density instead of average power density. It says the sounds described as a buzz, clicking, hiss, knocking, depending on several parameters. Frey was able to induce the perception of severe buffeting of the head without such apparent vestibular symptoms as dizziness or nausea. Other transmitter parameters induced pins and needles sensation. Frey experimented with nerve-deaf subjects and speculated that the human detecting mechanism was in the cochlea, which looks like a shell. It looks like a portal in your ear. Auditory sensations of clicking or buzzing have been reported by some workers at modern-day microwave transmitting sites that emit pulse microwave radiation. The cause is thought to be a thermoelastic expansion of portions of the auditory apparatus. And the generally accepted mechanism is rapid heating of brain by each pulse. The rapid heating of the brain by each pulse and the resulting pressure wave traveling through the skull to the cochlea. So literally, brain is boiling. Now, they talk about electronic warfare. Apparently, the U.S. Navy came up with a system called Medusa, and it was supposed to basically be something that deterred crowd. It was supposed to be used for crowd control. And look at this thing. This is unbelievable. Experts who published research on the microwave auditory effect have discounted the effectiveness of the proposed device. Foster said that because of human biophysics, the device would kill you well before you were bothered by the noise. So, Medusa. And of course, they have a conspiracy theory section in here of people that have made claims that this has been used for mind control and voice to skull technology. Are you getting chills yet? Well, I am, because Twitter, the everything app, changed its name to X. And guess what X is? The tweet mechanism inside of a bird's throat. It's called the Syrin-X. And this is how a bird tweets. Syrin-X with an X. And now we figured out why Elon Musk changed Twitter's name to X, because it's still about the bird. Now we'll get into this a little bit later in the show. But this mechanism looks like the flux capacitor in Back to the Future, which makes frequency sound seem to originate from the back of the head. Well, that's where the image of Christ is imposed in your spinal cord, isn't it? Just beneath the back of your neck. This report also includes a note that the transmitted digital signals encoded manually can be accurately interpreted by the subject. Two messages described the induced microwave sound as multitonal and as tinnitus. Radio frequency sounds were described by volunteers who were exposed to the head by coils used in magnetic resonance imaging, like chirps or high note clicks for short pulses, and creaks or grit for lower frequencies of long pulses. So the people that were exposed to this were the ones that described it as chirps. Now, this is a whole study. I'm obviously not going to read this whole thing, but like I said, I will link this for you guys. Let's read just the introduction to this. The human auditory response to pulses of radio frequency energy was discovered in the middle of the last century and called a radio sound by Frey. Microwave-induced sounds can be characterized by low intensity and can be heard only in a quiet environment. The topic has been continuously researched over past years that are summarized in this paper. The place of microwave converting to acoustic energy is located inside on the periphery of the cochlea and is similar to acoustic noise at high sound frequencies. It should be noticed that the converting mechanism of a modulated high-frequency signal to an acoustic low-frequency signal has not been studied yet and is presented in the form of hypothesis. So, there's something to this, isn't there? Now, at this point of my decode of this that I worked on yesterday, let me check in with you guys, make sure you're with me. Good morning. This is a very, very important show. This is a show that you guys can all share. Please thumbs up the video right now. And I'm going to show you what blew my mind yesterday. Birds vocalize through a bony structure in their neck called a Syrin-X. Look at this. I could not believe this. The avian vocal organ is called the Syrin-X. Now, why did this blow my mind? Because we've been talking all about Syrin-X, haven't we? Artemis, her nymph, Syrin-X, was turned into a field of reeds, which were cut off by Pan to form his pipes. And I told you there was a connection between the syringe and the sound. Between the syringe and the pipes, that they were one in the same. They were nested metaphors of one another. And now we have proof. The Temple of Syrin-X. You can't make this up, you guys. Who's Artemis' twin sister? Well, that would be Trump Apollo, which signed in 5G, the millimeter wave. He is the millimeter president. Before that, the technology was different. 5G was microwaves. He was also the syringe president. So now you see, finally, the connection. He manifested both the needle and the 5G sound frequencies. So Twitter is really a bunch of Syrin-X pipes or syringe pipes. And that's why they changed it to X, because that's the last letter of the word Syrin-X, which still is about a bird. The mark. So, Elon Musk knows exactly what the X means. Now, what an amazing gift by the Holy Spirit to reveal this to us. Of all the channels on YouTube, he revealed this to us. God is amazing, isn't he? And all the glory to him for this, to help people wake up from the matrix. Now, if you still need confirmation, this is really, really weird. Now, first of all, let me go back to this bird vocalization and the Syrin-X, because they actually mention Pan in here. Either in this article or the other one. Probably the other one. Look at this. Syrin-X bird anatomy. They show it. And it says right here, the Syrin-X, from the Greek word, whatever that is, for panpipes, is the vocal organ of birds. Do you see how all of the research we had to do to this point led us to this conclusion, which God already knew, the beginning from the end, but he had to walk us through it. So I tell you guys, every single decode is important, because we had to find all this out before we got to this point, didn't we? All of the information has been building upon building upon building to get to this point. Look at this. Let's read a little bit about this. The sound is produced by vibrations of some or all of the membrana, the walls of the Syrin-X, and the pessulus, caused by the air flowing through the Syrin-X. Let's see if we can get any more clues about how all this is going to shake out in the last days. This sets up a self-oscillating system that modulates the airflow, creating the sound. The muscles modulate the sound shape by changing the tension of the membrane. So it's basically like, almost like speech for a bird. They mention parrots, crows, minus, and they can mimic human speech. Unlike the larynx in mammals, the syrinx is located where the trachea forks into the lungs. So it's different. It's at the fork instead of higher up, because our larynx is higher up, right? We're not at the fork. Many of you, like I said that this object looks like the flux capacitor, and I think you may be right. What else is going on here? What does it say here? It says that lateralization is possible, with muscles on the left and right branch modulating vibrations independently, so that some songbirds can produce more than one sound at a time. Now, what makes this even more stunning is that we've been talking all about songbirds on the Ozark Honey Milk Ranch, haven't we? Long before Elon Musk changed the name of Twitter to X. We put up a feeder even before he did this. And we've been talking all about the sound of birds, haven't we? God is amazing. All of it's connected. Now, what else does it say here? Now, this goes into some pretty high detail. I'll put a link to this, and I'll continue to try to track down the details of this. But here are some different birds' syrinxes. They all look very similar. Here's the syrinx of a hornbill, a cuckoo roller, and an ostrich. Talk about evolution, which I don't believe in, and other things. Wow. Now, yesterday was a day, because not only did all of this happen, but something else happened. As I was going through the Blacklist episodes in order, I wasn't skipping around, you guys. I'm on season 7. And right after Elon Musk made this announcement about Twitter X, the everything app, the mark, an episode emerged in season 7 of the Blacklist. And guess what it was about? Sound frequencies that kill. And birds. Watch. I couldn't believe it, and you're not going to believe it either until you hear it with your own eyes and see it with your own ears.
Can a person be killed by sound?
No, I'm begging you. No.
So, he's torturing this guy with sound. This is season 7 of the Blacklist, in order. It's like God has us exactly where he wants us to be to reveal all of this stuff to anyone who's listening. Because we've been working on Blacklist for at least 2 months now, haven't we? And we just so happen to stumble upon this episode? What are the odds of that?
He thinks it might be some kind of a sonic weapon.
He's never seen one, but says that directed ultrasonic waves can sever nerves and burst blood vessels.
You're telling me the sound did this?
Yeah, he thinks so. His ears were perforated and the joints degraded.
I'm afraid there's been a complication.
I thought he was in recovery.
He was. An aneurysm burst causing a brain hemorrhage.
Now, this episode is loaded. It's got several concurrent storylines going on. This woman you just saw here, her name is Elodie, like melody without the M. And this guy's girlfriend is named Melody. You're going to hear that all in a second. 2 different storylines with the same names. One with the M, one without the M. And what this guy's doing is he's basically punishing these corporations who build these different farms, technology farms, with the constant hum of millimeter waves. And it drives him insane. So he kidnaps these people and he tortures them in a millimeter wave bath. that basically kills them. Now, under the conspiracy theory section of the microwave auditory effect, the Frey effect, they talk about electronic harassment and that it can cause people to become not well. So this is a direct connection to everything we've been talking about. Let's keep watching.
Hearing aid, what does that get us?
You made him a hearing aid.
The hearing aid, what does that get us?
You made him a hearing aid that blocks out sound.
It was specially made not to amplify sound, but to block it out.
Noise pollution. The Surgeon General has been warning about the health hazards for a generation. Anxiety, depression, dementia.
Is it really that common?
When I became an ENT, it was unheard of. Now I find that my patients are as concerned by what they can hear as by what they can't.
Sound can cause all that?
Low-frequency radio signals, electrical substations, server farms.
Server farms.
Precisely the type of low-frequency sound which can elevate stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which over time can lead to high blood pressure, stroke, and heart failure.
You can't make this up. They're literally disclosing to us what they're doing to us in fiction so that nobody believes it. And it's connected directly to getting poked with something, another syringe.
Which over time can lead to high blood pressure, stroke, and heart failure.
And apparently murder.
Now, this guy's name is Newton. And if you take his name backwards, it literally is the first three letters in the word tweet. Newton is tweet. Newt twin. And it's also the first four letters of the number 22, which is the 22nd letter of the alphabet, the X letter, or the Tav, or Taw.
Here it is. The man you're looking for is Newton Purcell.
The hum came back home with me.
Now, in the next scene, you can literally hear the chirping sound. Listen.
I heard it all the time. I couldn't sleep. I lost my job. Melody said that sound knocked all the kindness out of me. I wasn't surprised when she left.
Right here, watch, listen very carefully. You'll hear the chirping sound. Did you hear it? Yeah, I think it's safe to say we're on to something. Let's keep watching.
Sound pollution has drowned out God's music, and no one cares.
And then the bombshell at the end of the episode. The sound of birds.
And what did God create in heaven? Wind whistling in the trees, waves crashing on beaches, the love song of the nightingale and the lark, and we can't hear them anymore.
Wow. Welcome to the Matrix, you guys.
You must be a friend of Elodie's. I am. So sorry, Aram Mushtabai.
Now, this is another episode. We'll pick this up in a few days. And this was all about, well, I won't get into that. I just put them all together in this one montage, but I'll show you guys this. This guy puts on a mask and everything. This is pre-COVID, and he's all freaked out, and he's got this mask on. So we'll cover that in a few days. Again, foreshadowing before COVID happened with the hand sanitizer and everything else. So we're going to end the show today with another amazing connection. As I mentioned earlier, the Ozark Honey Milk Ranch experience is manifesting the spiritual from the physical almost every single day. Because it was a week before this Twitter announcement that we decided to build some kind of a feeder, an enclosure. We were talking about chirping birds. And so I actually built this thing, and I'm going to show this to you right now. So now you are all seeing how even you are all part of this spiritual disclosure manifesting all around us in nature, because I took your advice about a lot of this stuff, didn't I? And we all got to talk about the birds chirping and the sounds and the chickadee and the whippoorwills, didn't we? let's take a look. All right, guys, we're going to build a little birdhouse just to cover that we're going to be able to hang the feeder from that will keep the rain off of the seed. I'm going to start out with this block of wood here. This is a piece of red oak, and we're going to do 2 panels that will be the shingles. They're going to come down like this. I'm just going to basically make this simple. I'm going to basically follow the angle of this wood here and screw those shingles right onto it on each face, and then I'm going to top it with this piece there to make it look kind of neat and also keep the rain from going in through the seam at the top here. So I'm going to show you guys that, put it all together, and then we're going to have to probably hang something underneath here to hang the, we'll put like a hook under here to actually hang the feeder underneath. The cool thing about this is once we have this roof on, squirrels and stuff won't be able to like get on it because there will be no way for them to get underneath this roof. But we'll keep an eye on it just to make sure squirrels aren't eating the seed. Not that I care, but this place is already overrun with squirrels and they cause issues of their own. So let's get started on this thing. And you guys are going to laugh because at the end of this, you'll see the finished bird feeder with the roof on it. And I realized very quickly that really there's nothing that can prevent a squirrel from getting into a bird feeder. They're very intelligent animals. And I've seen them leap across 6 to 10 to 15 feet across tree limbs and stuff. They have no fear. They just go for it. So I couldn't find any boughs, any tree boughs that were far enough off of the tree to where a squirrel couldn't just jump from the trunk of the tree to the bough. But let's keep going here. Now, since this is really not a finished kind of thing, it's just going to basically be a feeder. I mean, I do want it to look somewhat nice. I'm just going to measure. Uh-oh, guy said, you guys getting sound? Uh-oh, having a problem here? Uh-oh. Cheryl just messaged me and says, no sound. Let's go back into the chat here. Sound. Okay, where did the sound stop at, you guys? And I can back up. Okay. Okay, so it looks like you guys have sound. Did any of the sound drop out when I was... Okay. Around the flux segment, way back. Oh boy. Missed the whole beginning. Huh. Which part of the beginning? That's no bueno. Stopped at the X. Okay. Half an hour ago. That's when we started. How long was the sound out? Oh boy. See, this is what they do, you guys. Did you guys have sound from the very beginning? The anatomy of the bird. I know you guys can hear me now, but how beginning of the word flux capacitor. Gosh. I mentioned that twice. It was for about 5 minutes. What were you guys looking at on the screen when the sound went out? That'll help me figure it out. What were you guys looking at on the screen when the sound went out? Two minutes, no sound. The spinal canal, the first article. The blue trachea. The Wikipedia. There was a lot of Wikipedia articles, but which article was I looking at? I mentioned the flux capacitor like twice. Oh boy. This was a completely important show. So let me go back through my notes and just make sure that at least we cover it. The first mention of Syrin-X. the first tweets when I started talking about the Syrin-X. Picked up where it had no sound. 10 minutes. Did you guys hear the part about me talking about the microwaves being audible? That they sound like little tweets or chirps? And then we started reading the master's thesis. Huh. Yeah, a lot of it was just me reading from the master's thesis. So hopefully, at least if it was on the screen, then that would be good. But obviously, we've come under artificial intelligence attack because they don't want this information out there. We talked about the bony structure in the throat of the bird called the Syrin-X, and that this is why Elon Musk changed Twitter to X, because it still relates back to a bird. We talked about Pan's pipes, mentioned as the vocal organ of the birds. So now there's a direct connection between these pipes, Pan's pipes, Artemis, Trump, who's Apollo, right? And that Trump was the one who brought us both. He's the syringe president and the Syrin-X president, the pipes, because that relates directly back to 5G, because it's a different kind of technology. It's millimeter waves, which sound like chirps. Hopefully it came through this time. We will not give up. Did you guys hear that part? Said when I was talking about the anatomy. Oh, I was probably reading about the anatomy, so let's go back here. Okay. All right. So, let's keep going, you guys. Back to the Honey Milk Ranch. I think that pretty much covered it. Did everything come through when we started the blacklist? Did you guys hear the whole thing about blacklist? And if you did, then we'll just move on to the Honey Milk Ranch. Good morning. Yes. Okay, good. Paul's arrow will be broken at the end. Yes, JK. Some of you had sound all the way. Wow. Just selective. They just selectively cut people off. Now, I was having problems with YouTube yesterday. I went to go basically try to watch some content. I don't watch a lot of content on YouTube, but it wasn't loading. They weren't loading, and the video would come in at super low resolution, and I'd have to refresh to like 720 resolution, and next thing you know, it would like take forever to load, and sometimes it wouldn't load. So there was problems on YouTube yesterday. So I don't know what's going on. Very weird. But we're not going to stop. Let's keep going with this birdhouse. Metal pieces to the length of this board. We'll just use the length of this board as our baseline. So there you go, length of our board is our baseline. I have nippers. We're just going to use nippers to cut this. We're going to use the Sawzall. It'll go much quicker. Some of you are probably just laughing at me right now because I was laughing at myself, so I know you're laughing at me. The nippers are not as easy as they look. You need some really heavy-duty nippers, and as you just saw, the Sawzall did not work that well at all. And I even used a metal cutting blade, and just wasn't happening. Nippers. Or fold and break. So I ended up with a combination nipper to get it started, and I just kept folding it back over, and the heat ended up breaking it along the seam. So that was what I ended up doing. Go. Next piece. cut right there. Fold. Kind of sketchy. Probably be using gloves for this. Alright, so there we have our 3 pieces. Let's bolt them on. Alright, here we go. So there's what we have so far, and now we'll put this top on it like that, and now we're ready to hang the hook. Alright, it's all bolted in. Now it should just be a matter of screwing the screw in here, putting another one in the top to hang the rope, and we should be good to go. No use drilling into the wood when you could just wrap the strap around it, right? And I'll tie this off, and this will make plenty. This will be sturdy enough, I think. Put a screw right in there just to hold it in place so it's in the middle. And this hook right here should be plenty to hold up this weight, because the feeder's actually not that heavy. So that's what will be what we had to hang the feeder from. Now we have to figure out what to hang the roof from. And that ought to keep everything nice and dry under there. But what should we put in here to hang the roof from? And that piece of rebar was just the perfect length, and I'll tie some wire to that. That way I don't have to cut through the roof and cause more leaking. I think we're good to go, you guys. I just hammered that rebar right underneath the seam there. So that's pretty much the finished project. When I get some rope, I'll go ahead and tie it up, and you guys will be able to see the rest of it. Alright, you guys, the tree is up. I got it tied off, and it's high enough so the deer can't get it. A bear could get it, and I think the squirrels could get it. You guys were right about squirrels, and now I haven't seen any wildlife come to the bird feeder yet, but I can imagine a squirrel could easily jump from the tree to that tray and get that bird feed. So it is what it is. I don't want the seed to go to waste, so if the squirrels do get it, that's fine. Let's go outside and get a closer look. Alright, there it is. I think this is going to be good. As soon as I get some wildlife footage of it, then I'll share that with you guys. What do you guys think? Good idea? Keep some of the rain off of it, keep the seed somewhat dry. And then I tied it off to the propane tank. I guess if the tree fell over, that probably wouldn't be such a great idea. But I don't get a lot of tree fall here. And usually the only way the tree falls is if it's dead. So if this tree ever died, of course I would take the rope down off of it. But as you can see, a squirrel, all he has to do is crawl down this trunk and jump onto here and get the seed.
Got it tied off there. And I couldn't put it any further out away from the tree because it was putting a lot of pressure on this limb. If I had a choice, I'd get a much thicker limb, but as you can see, the thicker limbs are way far up there, and it's not going to matter how high I go because squirrels are either going to be able to get it or they're not. So I'm hoping this will attract some birds. We will see.
So that's it. Sorry for the sound, you guys. So weird having sound problems on my computer. Bizarre, right? So we'll have to see what happens. I might have to reload my sound card or something. I was having sound drop out yesterday while I was watching some of this stuff. So who knows? All right, I'm in the chat. All right. The sound cut out again? Or are you guys talking about at the beginning? Sure, I need to riff like that from hailstones. Thanks, Shelby. Just buffering, says Susan. Genesis says it's the YouTube, not the computer. So I check on that feeder every day. I look outside, out my window. I've got the feeders all around my window so I can look out and, you know, see if there's any wildlife. I love looking at wildlife. So I got the hummingbird feeder out one window and now the chickadee feeder out the other window. Cool, thanks. Thanks, you guys. All right. Looks like we lost a lot of people. Hopefully you guys will share this video and get it out to as many people as possible. This is a very, very important video because it links into exactly what Elon Musk is up to in this whole everything app and Twitter. And I truly believe that that we're on to something here. So we'll keep a close eye on it. I love each and every one of you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care and be safe.